Welcome to the Crafty Mini and the next episode in the October Nightmare. So for this one, a friend's contacted me and asked me to make effectively a door ornament type Halloween thing. It's really gruesome and grotesque, and it's there for like the trick and treaters and things for the upcoming Halloween holiday. So that's what we're going to be doing. Now for this one, all they wanted was like a weird twisted face. That was the only sort of remit I was given. Now I've got these cork boards, I don't know, like notice boards or something. I got them from IKEA, a pack of two for I think £4. So I'm going to use one for this, and we're going to be using Modge Podge watered down instead of PVA, just because the cork does soak up a lot. I did a few trials and it didn't work, so we're going to use watered down Modge Podge instead because it's a bit thicker. And I'm using the tissue paper and doing the exact same thing as we did on the skull, the obsidian skull in episode 2. And this is going to create the sort of face. So the idea is I want to go for this. If you imagine like a stretched face that's stapled down onto this board, and it's all like twisted and gnarly, and the skin's obviously starting to rot and things. And then we'll go from there and obviously paint it all up and everything, and you'll see the full process in the video. I'll come up with some sort of lore for it, because it's a cool looking piece actually, as I'm looking at it now, and you'll see at the end of the video. So we'll do some BPD lore for this as well. Right, there it is, all stuck down onto the board. Now if you remember when we did the alien sea creature, and I shaved some of the pieces of polymer clay into rocks, and those offcuts that I always keep everything so I can use them in future projects, try and recycle as much as possible. And these are ideal for making teeth. A few of them need a bit of trimming, like this one here, but these will actually slot in on the underside of that tissue paper while it's still a little bit wet, and we can create teeth with these, all irregular shaped and gnarly. It's actually quite a good effect in the end, and it looks pretty good. This is why, like I say in the videos, try and keep as much as you can in like a little bits box or a bag or something, because you never know when you're going to need it and when you might find a use for it, rather than just going in a bin and wasting money and But yeah, it looks pretty good. It's very weird, very gnarly, this thing. It's pretty disgusting, which is on brand for the channel, I suppose. And there are the teeth all super glued in, and just around the edges I've added a bit of the armature wire, just bent them over, put a hole in the cork, and that's given the effect of it being stapled and stretched over the board. Right, so onto the eyes. Milliput, some favourite material of mine. You can do a load with this stuff. So I'm starting off, just mixed up some Milliput, and I'm just bulking out the actual eye area there. This does look a bit derpy in a minute, but once it's the extra bit of tissue paper is done for the eyelids and things, it all works out. So what I'm going to do is just put a hole in the middle, bore that out a little bit, and that's obviously the pupil, and then around that I just shape out where the iris will be, because we're going to UV resin this up as well to make it more 3D. But the iris, just shape it out and just add just little lines and marks with the little ball stylus, and then that'll be picked up on the painting later on. Right, so I've added a bit of tissue paper over the tops of the eyes just to make it look like eyelids and a little less derpy. Then I'm going to go over now and base coat the entire thing. This is after it's dry. Base the entire thing in cheap white acrylic. This just gives the paint something else to adhere to, and just makes it feel a bit more secure, a bit stronger as it dries up. Obviously with the Modge Podge, and I've put some dabs of super glue around as well, just to get it all secure. Right, so the face itself, once that's done, I've just gone over in a dark flesh tone by Vallejo, all over just the face part, and then I'm just going in now with some brown wash. This is just to darken all the recesses, make the skin texture pop, exactly like we did on the obsidian skull in episode 2. And this will, when this is dry, and you then dry brush it up with a lighter colour, it just makes everything pop. And we'll put some of the little washes in there, like greens and reds and things, just to make the skin look a bit rotten and nasty. Right, now for the backing part of the board itself, this is all just going to get a simple black base coat. So this is again really cheap acrylic paint that I've got from the hobby store for a couple of quid for a massive tube. You don't want to use all your nice paints for this sort of stuff. And I'm just going round, watering it down a little bit just so it gets into all the creases and all the little sort of nooks that are on the actual corkboard and all the texture. And just going around and painting all of this black, and this just offsets the actual flesh and just makes it stand out when you see the finished product. So I'll also, with this paint, I'll go and do the inside of the mouth, the two cavities for where the nose would have been, and the pupils as well. Right, so onto the dry brushing of the skin. So the first coat is Dark Flesh by Vallejo again, which was the original coat before we washed it down. And then I go in with beige skin tone from Vallejo as well, exactly like we did on the skull. Make sure that each coat on the dry brush is progressively lighter, and it just adds layers to the finished product. And make sure you go over really lightly. It just picks up on all the top areas where all that tissue paper's dried and it's gone all wrinkly, and it'll pick all those up for you. A really simple and effective way of doing things, especially if you want like a gnarly, rotten sort of skin texture. Right, once that dry brush layer is done, I go in there with some Resin Flesh Shade by Citadel, just picking out a few areas where the paper's really clumped up, or where I want to accentuate a bit of shadow. So under the eyes, there's a clump at the top of the head and just around the bottom lip. And you can see it just going through, quite rough and ready, just spreading it about. If it does pool up too much, I'll dab it off with either tissue or my finger. Right, and then after that I'll go in with a green wash, again by Citadel, and this is used very, very sparingly, just over certain areas, and this just gives that discoloration and makes the skin look like it's rotten. Right, then onto the teeth. So really simple. So going in with Light Bone by Vallejo first of all, just on all the teeth. The eyes will get the same colour as well. And this is just to get that initial layer, and then obviously we're going to dirty these down again after that and build back up to it. We're just blocking out the colours, making sure don't get any on the black or on the skin that's on the rest of the not miniature, what would it be, on the rest of the face. And then just going in, block all these out, and then we'll start to wash them down after that. You see here the eyes get the exact same treatment. So just on where the eyeball would be, that's all getting the same colour. And again, we'll add the iris colour and a bit of detail onto these later on as well. Right, so for the teeth themselves, now that it's dry, I've gone in, I'm just dabbing in some of the Seraphim Sepia on the actual teeth themselves. This is just to discolour it. And then where the tooth is meeting the actual lips, I'll add a bit more on, just to darken it, and then I'll dab off little bits on the actual tooth itself, just so you get a gradient from that sort of, if you imagine like filthy teeth, you got that dark horrible root that's right next to the gum, and then it'll get brighter as it goes down. And this goes onto all of the teeth all over, on each of these, and it just makes them pop and stand out. And also, the idea is you don't want the teeth looking too clean as they are there with that initial base coat. And then after that, while that's still drying, I'll go with the original colour and just feather it through the wash, just so you're getting a nice gradient, like we did on the last episode with the BP artifacts, and I did on that big tooth that was in the display box. Same sort of thing, and just feathering it through, making sure you get a nice gradient from the base of the tooth to the tip. And this is the sort of thing you could use on, like horns, or anything similar to that, like on other models, fancy models and things. I've used them on orcs and squigs and stuff before. It's a really simple method, and you do get it gives a nice colour and a nice texture to it at the end. Right, so onto the eyes. Now initially the pupil has had some UV resin put in and cured. Then after that, just to give it a bit of height, and then after that, around the iris where I put the actual detail in with the clay shapers, I've painted that with a lime green from Vallejo, and now I'm going in with a darker green around that, just to do those little sort of lines and striations that you see on an iris. Just gives it a bit more detail, a bit more texture. And you can see there, that's all gone on. It just makes it pop a bit more. Then the entirety of each of the eye get a full UV coat. And this is just to make them look glossy and wet, and makes them stand out next to the whole, the rest of the thing, because all the skin's quite matte in comparison, and it makes the eyes really pop, which is what you want. There's always needs to be a focal point on any piece that you make. And after this last cure, it's all done. So before we go on to the sort of final shots, and you see and I'll come up with the BPD backstory for it. Thank you very much for everyone who's watched and supported throughout the October Nightmare. This series has done a lot better than I'd planned or envisaged. So thank you for everyone who's subscribed, everyone who's commented, left a like, and everyone who's just watched it. I hope there's tips and things that people have picked up, and that people can go ahead and make stuff and be creative. That's always the plan of this. But thank you everyone who's watching, and now on to the backstory. Right, for God's sake, who's phoning me now? I'm trying to edit here, who's this? Oops, I've left my mic on. Whoops. Make sure that don't get in the video. Hello.
Are you the crafty Mini? Good. Now before you start on a road of questions that I won't answer, let me make this very clear. You are creating realities with your videos, and after you left the gate open to find Sally, you didn't close it. We at the BPD have been watching you, and due to your negligence we have decided to make contact. You've left the gate open, and while we have been cleaning up the mess, you decided in your last video to put some more BPD lore. Now, harmless within itself, you made Subject 1138 escape in an attempt to create some sort of what? A jump scare for the audience of yours. Not clever, Mr. Crafty, not clever at all. And now you owe us. By all means carry on with the channel and create a way, but now you will be working for us from time to time until we have determined you have paid your debt to the BPD. Understood. You can start by creating a new vision system to be used in the field by our agents. We know you are looking for a kit bash project to do for the upcoming channel update video, so this can be it. We will be watching closely, Mr. Crafty, and will be in contact with you in the future. Good luck and welcome to the BPD.